Hi you guys, it's Lisa with Rosina Ranch Paint Nights. Tonight we're going to be working on our 8x10 Bluebird, and so we will be using 3 different brushes and 8 different paint colors. To go over our paint colors that we're using tonight, we've got our primary blue, we have our burnt umber brown, we have a Platho blue, a primary white, a fluorescent violet, solid black, turquoise, and primary yellow. All right, now we're going to be using 3 different brushes. So we have our typical 1-inch chip brush, and we're going to be using our small chisel brush and our fine tip number 0 paintbrush. All right, let's go ahead and show you our layout, and also if you have a blow dryer on hand, that would be super helpful. Okay, so as you can see, we have our reference photo on the bottom right hand side. I went ahead and got a cup of water, and I have my napkins. I have our 8x10 canvas, and this is laid out in landscape, which is lengthwise side to side. And here are our 3 brushes we're going to be using. All right. And then on the upper right hand corner, you're going to see a wax sheet, which I use to put all my paints down on. So I'll go ahead and show you all my paints right now. Okay, let's get all of these in. All right. So let's start off with our turquoise for our base in the background. There's our turquoise. I'm going to go ahead and use that 1-inch chip brush and load up our paintbrush with that blue turquoise. And now we're just going to go ahead and lay out our backdrop. So nice, big, long strokes, side to side. We're just going to go ahead and cover this. And this chip brush is awesome when working with acrylics because it is a wash type brush, because we are washing on some color onto our canvas. Make sure you're doing nice, long strokes back and forth. If you want, you could go ahead and make sure you get the sides of your canvas and the top if you would like to continue your painting off the canvas. It's just nice long streaks back and forth. Okay, I'm going to load up my brush with some more. Okay. And we are using acrylics tonight. Acrylics do have a tendency to dry pretty fast, especially in warmer weather like we're having tonight, which can be a good thing, but if you ever are blending more than one color, you do want to work fairly quickly. Right now I'm just going back and forth, making sure I don't have any white canvas showing, and also get those sides covered. Fill in that color. Make sure your streaks are side to side, because if your streaks are going to show, you want them running in one direction. Okay, a little bit more paint. And you could do this ahead of time and then come back to it if you want. You could do this the night prior, and then the next day you might want to jump back in and paint. It's up to you. That's why these videos are here, so you guys can do it whenever you want. You can just come back at your convenience. All right. Let's go ahead and make sure all those streaks are running side to side. It's a nice, pretty turquoise. Now, tonight's class is the regular class. I wouldn't recommend this for beginners. We are going to get into a little bit of finer details with the little bluebird. So if you really want to start painting for the first time, I always suggest doing Tuesday night classes live or just coming and taking a look at the beginners classes. Much easier for first timers. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and take our chip brush and go ahead and rest him in the water. Give him a good rinse. Really get that brush down in there. And that's all we're going to use that chip brush for. So now I want to make sure our canvas is completely dry to the touch. So I do have my handy blow dryer with me, and I'm going to go ahead and blow dry that. See, I'm just sitting here blow drying. Didn't want you just staring at paint drying. Alright, that's pretty much dry to the touch. I'll double check again. We're good. Alright, so on the backdrop, as you can see in our reference photo, we do have a contrast color, but I'm going to just make it all one color. So what I want to do is I want to take my chisel brush and dip that in my primary yellow. And what I want to do is just to add some dimension in the background. So I'm just going to start layering on some yellow. And I'm just flicking on some color. Not really focusing on blending. I'm more interested in just getting some color. You could go one direction and then kind of cross over it. I'm just looking for some color to just pop through. So I'm not making it solid. I'm just laying down some color sporadically as I see fit. There's no rhyme or reason, just because. That's usually when you make your best art. You're not taking it too serious and you're just having fun. Again, I'm just kind of like going in one direction, making X's, coming down. All I'm doing is adding a pop of color. It's not pretty, it's kind of messy, but I like it like that. Or if you want, you can always go ahead and just blend it better. You can push down and kind of make circles if you want. It's completely up to you. Just gonna kind of have this drag off the side a little bit. A lot of this is gonna get covered up anyways. So the areas it doesn't get covered up, I do want that green, yellow just to kind of pop through. And it's not pretty for a reason. We are just adding some color. All right. I'm pretty happy with that. I like that yellow, so what I want to do is I want to blow dry this, make sure it's completely dry to the touch, and put my chisel brush in the water. I'm going to dry this again, give it a good minute. Again, so you don't have to watch my paint dry, you can watch me dry. Giving that a nice dry coat. I'll switch back over. All right, I think we're dry. So we can start moving on to our little bluebird. We're gonna do a little bit of painting here. Just freehand. So let's get our reference photo. All right. Now let's go ahead and get that cleaned off chisel brush. Make sure it's really dry. And if you need to, sometimes I like to pinch these little fibers, make sure they're tight. And we're going to go ahead and dip this into our white, just very lightly. Not that much white paint, but we are going to dip into the white paint now. All right, first things first, we're going to figure out what position. We're pretty much in the middle of the canvas here. But what I want to do is I want to make the shape of a lemon. And I kind of want that lemon to turn to its side a little bit. I don't want it to be completely sideways. I want it to be a little bit slanted. So slowly I'm just going to trace out a lemon. And remember, always start smaller, build your way out as needed. Okay, I think I got about a lemon shape. So this is going to be really easy for the head. We just start here. We're going to make a half circle. Yeah, let's do a half circle for the head. And for the beak, we're going to go ahead and do a triangle. Just a triangle. All right. A little bit of white paint. Now for the wings, I like to kind of go close to the neck, kind of curve around, go straight out, and then curve back in. And that will be its main set of wings. Make that a little bit longer. And then he's got these little tail feathers over here. So I'm going to start at the base where my wings touch the body. And I'm just going to come out slightly and curve back in. Back into the body. I might want to make this wing a little bit longer. Okay. And we can worry about the legs later because they will pretty much be covered up by our flowers. So what we want to do here is fill this in with our white. Just so we have something to work with. Again, acrylics can be pretty transparent. You'll hear me say that a lot on my videos. So what we like to do is we like to put a layer of paint down before we move forward. And that just brings out those colors even more so. Right now I'm just laying down some white, tying it all in. All right. Perfect. Let's go ahead and put that in the water. Now we gotta let that dry. I am gonna pull out my handy dandy blow dryer and get this going. All right, I think that's dry. Okay, pretty dry. So let's go ahead and take that chisel brush, make sure it's nice and clean, and we're gonna go ahead and dip that into our Playfill blue, that really vibrant midnight blue, which is this color right here. I want you to load up your paintbrush, and we're going to first work on the head. So where the head meets the body, I'm going to kind of do a little line. Tilt your chisel brush to its side and kind of drag it along that top right there. Very slow. And we're going to kind of just go ahead and fill in that head. If you can, just lay down your chisel brush and rotate your fingers. You want to get a nice clean line. And we're just filling this in with color. We're going to be layering a lot of color on top of this. But what we want to focus on is making sure we're covering all that white. We don't want to see that white in between the background and the bird. We do want to go a little bit slightly over if you need to, just so that you can cover up that white line. And he's going to have like a little white color, so we're going to start slightly down on the neck. And I'm going to kind of trace the outline of that wing that we first made. Okay, just very loosely trace it. And then you can work in the color. Look at that pretty blue. That's a really pretty blue. Again, I'm focusing mostly on just covering that white line that leads to the backdrop. You don't want to see that white line. Okay. Pick up some more paint. I'm going to try and cover up that white line again. Remember, we want to leave a little gap of white right here. If you accidentally don't, you can always go in later when it's dry and kind of touch that up. If you accidentally touch them together. Again, every painting's going to look completely different because we're all different. And things that are easy now, or I should say things that are hard now, will become easier with practice. Everybody gets better with practice. All right. So now that we got that really pretty blue down, what I want you to do is go ahead and do that bottom right here, this layer of pretty feathers coming back up into the body. Remember again to focus on covering up that white, because you don't want to see that white in the back from the backdrop. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and wash my chisel brush. And we're going to be working on the chest part, and we're going to dip our chisel into the burnt umber brown. So let's go ahead and find that burnt umber. Okay, just a little bit of paint. And here, I'm going to very carefully just start off in that neck part, right here, this gap. And I kind of just want to stay close to that feather and trace down to about here with the brown. Drag that out. And we're going to go about right here. Just adding some brown in. And remember, it's streaky now, but we're going to add a lot of layers to this. So there is no worries. If it's streaky, it is fine. Lots of color to add. All right, now from here, let's go ahead. Actually, what I want you to do now is let's go ahead and dip this again into our umber brown. And as we dip it into our umber brown, dip it partially, just one side, into our black. And we're going to make our branch so that it's nice and dry. And that branch is just going to go right below the bird, but it's not going to go into their wing. So let's just start maybe at the very, very corner. And with that brown black, just kind of make a line. Just push down that chisel brush and drag it all the way out. This is just giving us a base to work with. Okay, you see some browns in there, you see some black in there. It's perfect. You want that mixture of color. Nice long stroke just to bring it all together. All right, now we can go ahead and clean off our chisel brush. Make sure it's nice and dry, and we're going to just lightly dip it into our primary yellow again. Okay, and right now we're just going to trace really close, even touching that brown in the bird's chest, just all the way over. As you can see, we got that yellow going on. It's okay if it's streaky. Kind of want those acrylics to blend. That's why I haven't dried this yet. I'm just adding in a little bit of yellow. Okay. Almost all the way down to the bottom. Not quite to the bottom. Almost. All right, now let's go ahead and wash that out. Okay, dry that off. And from here, I want to start using more of my primary blue, adding some blue into the feathers, and then we'll start with definition. So let's go ahead and dip into the primary blue. Okay, and now I'm focusing on just making long brush strokes all the way down, because you still want to see that Platho blue, but you do want to see some streaks coming back in with this primary blue. And again, down here at the tail, just a few brush strokes down. You can add a little bit of blue into the face. Just a few brush strokes there. And that's all we want with our blue. Now for the next step, actually let's go ahead and get black on our chisel brush. And we're going to go ahead and quickly paint in that beak. So just with that edge, kind of start dabbing just on the edge, working your way into the bird's face. Very slowly, very carefully. Just work it into the bird's face. We're going to fill that in. And we'll give that a little highlight later. Okay, let's go ahead and wash that chisel brush. And let's go ahead and make sure everything's dry before we start adding the fine details. Make sure you're dry. All right, we're good. Okay. This is the time where you're going to want to pull out that ultra fine zero brush for the detail work. We're going to do a lot of detail right now. So let's start with our black detail. So let's take our zero brush and dip it in the black. Okay. And first things first, I want to go ahead and give it an eye. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it down right about here. Let's go ahead and give it an eye a little smaller than a pea. It's about the shape that I'm going for. Go ahead and give it a nice round circle. Okay. Now for the wings, let's get started. So for the wings, I'm going to be making some long U shapes. If your paint's a little thick and you want to glide nicer, you can always dip it slightly into water just so that it will glide smoother. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to start in the middle and I'm going to just kind of wrap it around and make a U shape. And from this U shape, I want to go a little bit further down and make another U shape that curves back into that first U shape. Okay, need more paint. And I'm going to continue that all the way down. And as I get down, I'm going to go a little bit smaller. A little bit smaller. All the way down to the tip of that bird's tail. Okay. Add some more paint. I'm going to come now just below that and make another U shape. And with the same pattern, just continue to drag and get smaller and smaller and smaller until you get to the tail. Okay, underneath that, I'm just going to do a few streaks, kind of break up these two, this wing and this bottom tail wing. I'm just going to draw a line, partially halfway up. And then I'm going to do another line right above that, just so there's some more detail. All right. Okay. Let's come down to this bottom tail feather. And we're going to break that up. Maybe halfway. We're going to come down, curve back up. down all the way to the bottom and curve back up. Okay. There's a few little dark details in the bird's face. So I'm just going to add very, very light strokes of black detail in the face. And maybe a few little streaks in the body. Okay. Now we're going to move on to our white. So really clean off your zero brush. Make sure there's no more black left on it. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and dip into our white. And this is a very fine detail, so we're going to work on the chest first. And with tiny little brush strokes, we want to blend in that bottom with the yellow, going into that burnt umber. And again, if it's not flowing, you can always dip it lightly into the water so it's got better consistency. Be careful dipping it into the water though, because if your water has too much color from washing, that's going to show up as well. I'm just doing little brush strokes back into the chest. It's all about the little details right now. They're very faint, but we're going to build upon them. Okay, I got more white paint, and I'm going to start making tiny little feathers. Just coming up. Just like that. Easy peasy, right? This is about our ugly stage. We're moving from our ugly stage to our finer details where we see the big picture. Okay. Now when we get to the face, there's a little bit of white feather detail all around. On the top of the head, coming up towards the beak. A little bit of fine detail. And around the cheeks a little bit. Okay. All right, watered it down a little. So for the beak, I'm just going to do a streak across, just like the light picked up, and some tiny little baby hairs. Now for the eye part, you kind of want to make a half circle over the eye and drag it out with a few hairs. And then we're going to go ahead and put a little dot in the middle. I need more white paint. Put a little dot in the middle, just to kind of show it glistening. All right. And then we're going to continue those little hairs all the way back down its neck. Just along, very lightly along the very back top. Not too much. Again, my paint's drying out, so I'm going to add a little water. And just add a few white streaks towards the top. Okay. Maybe even on the bottom, just to highlight the feather. A few longer streaks down here. Now we're going to detail those feathers. So what we want to do is all those little black U's that we previously made, what we want to highlight is we want to use our white just below each one of those little U's. So I have a U right here. What I want to do is I want to go on the very edge of that underneath and just come back up. I want to go on the underneath and then come back up. So I'm not necessarily, I'm touching it, but I'm staying underneath it and then whipping back up. Just to add that little detail. You can add some lines, show that there's more feathers right there. Okay. We're going to do the same for those feathers on the top. Fix this. We're going to go underneath and wrap back up. Underneath. And again, and again, and again. Just tracing those little U's that we previously made. Adding another white line, just to tie that in. Okay. Don't forget those bottom tail feathers. I'm going to do the same thing right here. Just at the bottom, wrap it back around. And wrap it back around. Okay, now to add some of that gold in here, we're going to go ahead and mix some of our burnt umber with our white. Okay, just to get a light brown. And with that light brown, we're just going to add some of that into the top of this bird, just to tie those colors in. Just little flecks of this light brown you're going to see. Even maybe towards the head. Okay, now we can move on to our branches. Let's go ahead and clean out that zero brush and pull out our chisel brush. And we're going to go ahead and dip that again into our burnt umber brown and slightly into the black as well. Okay, I got burnt umber and black, and I'm just going to make some branches that are coming out. So turn your chisel to the side, randomly create some branches, no rhyme or reason, just going everywhere. Burnt umber, black again. Just make some extra branches so we can lay on some beautiful pink flowers right on top. All right, now that we got our branches, let's go ahead and dry this again. Dip that in the water, and we'll go ahead and dry it again. Some of my paint was a little thick, so I wanted to make sure I really got it dry because I do not want to mix that beautiful vibrant fuchsia with this brown. All right, so we're dry. Now, here's the fun part. Our fourth brush that we're going to use is actually our fingertips. So let's go ahead and pull out our violet, fluorescent, and our white. And I'm going to lay those down right here. Kind of position that so you can see what I'm doing. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my fingertips and I'm going to dip it in white first, just a tiny bit. And I'm just going to very, very lightly pick up a little bit of that fuchsia violet. So I got a little bit of that violet, and all I'm going to do is plop it where I see fit. And I'm going to make 4 little petals with my fingertips. And the streakier, the better. You want to see those pretty streaks come through. And I'm just going to continue on. And you can add as many as you want. I tend to like a lot. I think it just adds that nice pink contrast to that background, so I do like a lot. And I tend to go a little bit more white with just a little bit of fuchsia on the inside. I like that. And as you get closer to the feet, you can either draw little feet in, touching the branch, or you can do what I did and just cover up that branch with some pretty flowers. So you don't even know what's going on. Okay, let's keep adding flowers. And you could go crazy and add a ton of flowers if you want. I just kind of do 4 petals and I pull them all into the middle. Just kind of pull them into the middle. Might have to go over it a few times. All right. We're just going to do this until we feel like there's enough. So just take your time on this as you see fit. Because it's back to kindergarten, right? It's been a while since we were able to finger paint. It's nice and relaxing. I like to do them on the edges of the branches. All over. Some darker, some lighter. It's the beauty of just dipping it in. Just dip your finger in. Whatever you make will look great. And if it's thick, don't worry, because this is the last step, so you can just let it be super thick and dry. Alright, like I said, I'm just pulling those 4 petals in, giving that little streaky look with my fingers, because it's easy. And it's a tool that you already had and didn't have to go out and buy. I like a lot of color, so I'm just going to keep continuing on until I feel like I finally have enough color. And if you're going to layer a lot of flowers, I always suggest going a little bit darker with the background flowers if you're going to be doing more flowers on top of it. Just so that way they pop and you can see them better. Coming along, almost done. This is the relaxing part. Just finishing up our final touches. Almost there. Starting to look like our picture. But again, every picture looks different. So you can't necessarily judge it. Every time you paint, it's going to look different, even if you're painting the same thing. And I'll show you that at the end, how different my paintings look. Compared to the one I painted previously. Okay. Just thinking where I want to add some more. I do want to add a lot of color. You can have this go off the sides of your canvas if you want. That's up to you. Okay, I'm going to add some more flowers down there at the bottom. So I'm going to make them a little bit lighter. Just pull in. I barely have any pink on that. Just really focusing on the white. Maybe even coming off the canvas. Just like that. Okay. And I'm going to take a step back. See if I want to add more. So I like a lot of color, so I'm going to add some more here. Okay. I'm thinking that's about enough pink for me. So I'll put these aside. And this would be a great time for you to go ahead and sign your work. I think I left myself a little bit of room on the right. I'm going to take my 0 brush and maybe dip it in my fuchsia, my violet fuchsia. And I'm just going to put my signature right here. All right. And you guys, it's that simple. If you want, take a step back, see if you want to add any more flowers. But I will go ahead and show you my side-to-side comparison. So we have our original pretty bluebird, and then we've got tonight's bluebird. Switched it up with the background so there's a little bit more yellow, but looks similar, a little bit different. As you can tell, every time we paint, it's going to look a little bit different each time. But I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Hope you had a great time. We're going to be wrapping up this summer, so next week on Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. will be the last of the summer series. And then the kids go back to school, and it gets crazy in my house because we do homework until late at night. So that'll be interesting. Hope you guys all had a wonderful summer too. And if you want, subscribe to the channel. There'll be more videos I'll post. And there's also an About Me page in my YouTube channel for my Facebook. if you would like to paint anything you see on this channel, and then go ahead and post that. I would love to look at that. I would love to comment and let everyone else see. Hope you guys have a great night.